evening, everyone. So tonight I want to discuss angels and how you have an angelic team around you, encircling you, always making sure that you are cleansed. So when you go to sleep at night, they cleanse your energy. And they're also here to teach you how to cleanse yourself, because we don't only want to rely on angels to clean us. You see, ascension is about learning those lessons, walking within truth, walking within integrity and purity. And when you do this, you become immune to a lot of the darker energies that can get a hold of you at times and really, really distort your perception. So the angels are sort of like, they were showing me today that from the top down, if you were to zoom out like on a Google map and use that 3D satellite thing, what they see is all these humans running around, and there's like this dark fog that is constantly being regenerated through humans. And their job is to constantly cleanse us. But they are trying to teach us how to cleanse ourselves. So they were giving me a really good example of this. Like, you know, when you go through something that's really difficult and you're in your feelings, like you're bent out of shape, and you'll get mad at someone, and then you might call your mom or your sister and tell them what happened. All right, now your mom or your sister is now on the phone with you trying to calm you down. But then when they go out to dinner with their friends, they might tell their friend what happened. And then their friends might get involved as well, and then go home and tell their husband. So it's like this dark mist. Think of it as like a slime. And because we don't take the time to really process through our own emotions and really contain that energy, meaning like going through our process privately and sacredly, that energy of impurity seeps into everything. So they see these humans who have so much potential, because that's who we are. We are here to become these angelics within this human form. But what we do is we constantly repeat patterns, and those patterns contaminate us. And then they were also showing me that, all right, you could maybe open up a discussion with your mom as to what just happened between you and this person, like this rift that was created. But if, let's say, your mom or a friend of yours doesn't see things as they are, they're not able to have an objective conversation where they're not judging the other person. They still have a filtering system, a screening system. Think of them as Instagram filters. So it doesn't matter how clean or how pure you are in your speech. If they have that Instagram filter, everything they hear is going to get misinterpreted, and it's also going to get distorted. So your intention might have been pure, and in the mix, it still got dirty and contaminated because the person that you were sharing with, the person that you were confiding in, wasn't on the same page as you. They haven't done the shadow work to be able to have a neutral, objective conversation about something. And there is a stark difference between gossiping about someone and presenting what happened between you guys without pointing a finger. But if you're someone that can speak from that neutral place, that doesn't mean that it's going to be received from that place. So you have to understand that. That's why it's really important that we keep things to ourselves a lot of the times, or that you have one or two close friends that can open up a conversation without putting anyone in a box. You know how our parents used to tell us, you might be a great driver, but there's other crazy drivers around you. That's kind of the idea. That's what I'm receiving now. Your intention can be in the right place and you mean well, but if you share it with the wrong person, then that information is going to get skewed. And then when they share it with someone else, it's going to get even more skewed because you don't even have control over who they share it with. So how they always show it to me is like, your words have wings and they travel. And if you share something or divulge too much, well, that energy's left the premises now because you didn't contain it. You didn't treat it with respect. You didn't protect that other party that was involved. So I'm human too, so sometimes I need to talk about what happened. But I love the people in my life, so I would never put them in harm's way. I will protect them during the conversation. And I'll talk about what's coming up for me. What's coming up for me through the dynamic, through what that person is reflecting in me. And the angels work in so many different ways. They are always notifying you. So they want me to call this video Angel Notifications, because this other vision came to me the other day where when you're in your car and you get an alert in the dashboard, like, ooh, you're running out of gas. And you're like, it's cool. I still have 10 miles to go. And you're not scrambling to get to the gas station because you know you have some time, you have some wiggle room. And then as soon as it hits E and that light is like, no more gas, you run to the closest gas station. You don't have a choice at that point. And I thought that was such a good visual, because in life, we can go on a date with someone and we know from the get-go, this is not the one. I can feel it. Your intuition knows. There's an intelligence in your belly. That's your gut. You just know. Or maybe you're clairvoyant, you're clairaudient. You can see through the timeline of what that would look like with them. And you're like, I'm not really feeling that strong resonation. But what we do as humans, which is what makes us so fascinating to the extraterrestrials, is we will go, I know I'm feeling this, but I'm going to give this person the benefit of the doubt and go anyways. And then you find yourself locked into a relationship for 7 years, only to eventually abort and remember that you weren't into them from the get-go, you see? So we have this propensity to intertwine ourselves with other people all the time, which is okay. By the way, I just want to be very clear. Your angels are okay with that. As long as you are committed to what you're doing and you contain that information. If you get in a relationship with someone that you know isn't the one, and then every other week you're airing your dirty laundry to your friends, you're not really committing to that relationship. So they're always showing me, like, if you're in an abusive relationship, and maybe you knew from the get-go something was off with this person, like your alarm system went off, but you went in anyways. It wasn't by coincidence that you ended up opening that can up. It means that there's probably a record or an Akashic imprint that you are wanting to resolve through that dynamic. Maybe in another life, you were in a disempowered state, you were talked down to, you lost all of your power, and now you're replacing yourself in that same situation to take your power back, or to not give it away in the first place and just speak your truth from the onset. Obviously, if you're in that abusive relationship, things have gotten too far already. But my point is, every person that's in your life, if you are in your truth from the get-go, then you become a teacher for them, just like other people are a teacher for you. But what we do is we go down a rabbit hole because we make an exception. We're like, I'll give this person the benefit of the doubt. And then you catch them treating you poorly and you're like, I'll let this one slide. And then before you know it, you're at the bottom of a dark abyss and it's really difficult to crawl out of. Really difficult. So your angelic team has no problem with you exploring different possibilities. Say you do go on a date with someone and you don't feel that electricity and you decide, well, I'm going to explore this anyways. That's completely okay. Completely okay. As long as you are in your power. As long as you're in your power. Now, if your angels see that you're not evolving through that, you're not teaching them, they're not teaching you, there's no growth going on, and it's only contaminating you. And it can contaminate you in a myriad of ways. It can be that you call your mom every night and you're like, I'm miserable, I don't love this person, or they treat me so poorly. That's victimization. If you keep repeating these patterns and you're not strong enough to be in that relationship, your angels are going to pull you out. Just like when you're running on E, on empty in your car, and it's time to go to the gas station, so you scramble to find one. You don't have a choice, because if you don't leave that relationship, that's a metaphor, if you don't get gas, your car's going to stop. So our angels are always looking out for us like that. Can you grow with someone who is abusing you? Can you grow through that? Of course you can. You just have to speak your truth. Keep speaking your truth. Don't allow disrespect. And they'll either grow with you or they'll naturally drop away. So you have a free will here. I need to be adamantly clear that there's nothing that you do that is quote unquote wrong. There's no right or wrong choice. But are you going to assume maturity within the choice that you commit to? Are you going to assume maturity within the choice that you commit to? If, let's say, you are in a stage in your life where you are lonely and you're like, I think I'm going to get a dog because I'm lonely. There's nothing wrong with that. From a different perspective, what the 9 would say is, don't get anything if you're lonely. Keep working on yourself and integrating, because once your DNA changes, you may not want that dog. But if you get the dog and then you work on yourself, you open up your heart, your DNA changes, you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't gotten the dog because now I'm so happy I want to go travel the world. You still have to assume responsibility for having gotten that pet. So your angels, they don't really have qualms about what you do. They don't have specific criteria. The thing is, though, if they're constantly cleansing you, it means that you're repeating patterns. Or if you're not following their instructions as to how to cleanse yourself, then you're also not really learning. So ideally is that all of these guides teach us how to become guides. We don't always depend on them when we mess up and we're like, heal me, please. That's fine. They will do that. But they also want to teach you what got you dirty in the first place. So if you're in a disempowered state in a relationship and you're not learning, no matter what, they might send you 1,000 notifications. It could be that you get on their iPad and you catch them cheating on you. It could be that you're miserable at a job and you just know that you just drag your feet trying to get there every day. They constantly send you notifications. The notifications may not have to do with you leaving that job, but there's always a notification if you look for it. If you really examine yourself, okay, I'll give you an example that's coming in right now. Let's say that someone speaks their truth and it just triggers you. Well, does it mean that the truth hurts? Deal with it? No, not necessarily. Because what they might be saying has nothing to do with the truth. It could just be their own projection. It could be a violation of your free will, where you don't want to hear their 2 cents and they're sharing it with you anyways, and that's why you're feeling hurt. Because you just got violated. So what they said wasn't necessarily true, but is it true that there's an angel notification in there? Absolutely. So if you're triggered, you have to go back to the source, kind of trace it back and be like, okay, what is it about what this person said that really triggered me? And you start inquiring from within. Was it that they were right and that was like a blow to my ego? Or was it that they were doubting that I know what I'm doing and I felt violated? And obviously there can be a list of reasons, but my point is your angels are always, always, always with you. Always. We just have to pay attention to the signs. If you're miserable in a relationship, that's a notification. Something's got to change. And the other thing they're always showing me is you're going to have to make a sacrifice whether you choose A or B. There's always a trade-off no matter what you do. Okay, so I'll give you an example. If you get a dog, well, you may not be able to meditate as much, but it's a sacrifice you're willing to make. And if you commit to that, you can still evolve and expand by having the dog. You're just going to have to kind of rework your approach to your expansion. We can expand no matter what you're doing. You don't need to meditate 1,000 hours a day, or you can if you choose to, and really work on your pineal gland and that built-in technology. So there are many ways to be awake. But if you have a mom and you're juggling career, kids, all of this, does that mean that you're exempt from or you're excluded from the ascension? No, that would make no sense. It means that you've got to work within this framework of being a mom. So the notifications are always coming in. Most of the time, when you're feeling disharmonious, when you're feeling unhappy in your life, when you're feeling sad, depressed, it means that your angels have been trying to get your attention and you're just not hearing it. And it can be something simplistic as leave your job, you're not happy. Be willing to overcome your fear. because that fear is contamination in your body. And if they're here to cleanse you, they're needing you to, like, they're waving, they're beckoning you like, hey, you're not happy at this job, you're miserable, leave, be willing to overcome the fear, because the fear is keeping you anchored in a lower dimensional reality. So that would be a tribute. So that would definitely attribute to the dark mist that's around you. But this dark mist travels so fast, and it's everywhere, everywhere. So if you're not really taking heed of all these signals, these alerts, and all of this, eventually your angels are going to squeeze you out of that situation. It's like an eject button, boop, and you've got to leave, because it's either that you weren't strong enough to bring awareness within your situation. So let's say you're in an abusive relationship and you weren't strong enough to process your emotions, stop playing the victim to your mom or your sister or your dad, gather your wits, smarten up, strengthen yourself, find your power. That'd be fine, because you'd be balancing yourself within the chaos. And eventually the chaos would dissipate, because it wouldn't be a vibrational match to you anymore. So the angels would say, this person's abusive, leave now. And you'd be empowering yourself by leaving now, because it's not your job to fix people or rescue people. Or they would say, cool, if you want to stay, you have a free will, stay in it. But in the thick of all of this toxicity, you're going to have to really address why you accept this treatment, why you let people be degrading to you, why you let this guy or this woman belittle you. And within all of that, you would have to find your power. And then one of two things would happen. The person you're with would either leave you because they're not able to control you anymore and they're still looking for that energy. They're like an emotional vampire. Or they would receive their angel notification, and rather than, hitting decline or hitting the X button, they would see it like, oh my God, you've been placed in my life because I've been such a bad person and I've been so condescending, and now I want to clean up my act. And at that point, you guys would be able to lift into a higher vibrational stance. Your angels adore you. You're never alone, ever. And I asked them today, can you give the audience a bit of a visual of what guides are and what angels are? And I've talked about spirit guides before, so check out my other spirit guide videos. And they showed me that, like, if you hit an octave or a note on a piano, all the other instruments in an orchestra or in a symphony of melody and harmony, all of the other instruments, the guitar, the saxophone, the tuba, not every note within that saxophone or tuba would match that note. It would sound like a hot mess. That's what harmonies are. It all has to blend, but it's a different instrument, different notes, but they all blend and they harmonize. So now think of all these layers of frequency. You have all these different layers, okay? When you're really mad, when you're really upset, you draw to you every other energy that's ever existed, that's still around, every being that might be dark in a lower astral realm, every emotion that is of a lower nature, all of those start to get drawn to you. So are there beings that are roaming around those lower astral planes? Of course. If you're upset, that attracts whatever is in its likeness. So now if you start to move up the scale, if you start to climb the ladder, if you will, the rungs of the ladder, you move into, let's say, a trance meditation where you hit a very high frequency. Well, you've just hit a note, and now you're going to meet with all these other instruments and all these other notes, and together you're going to form this wonderful symphony. Does that make sense? So your angels, they hold you in the highest regard. They know that you have the potential to be angelic, to be like an angel incarnate. but they vibrate at a certain level and it's very pure. It would never tolerate disrespect. It would keep to itself. It would go through the integration of different emotions that you feel on its own. It would never speak ill of others. So the angels are very pure. They don't have all that stuff around them, that dark cloud, that dark fog. So that's a frequency that you can hit. You just have to activate your angelic technology. And they're going to teach you how you can be like them. I believe that Metatron was once a human, or Sandalphon, or both. I don't know too much about angels in a literal sense, but I'm always in communication with them. And they show me all this stuff. Their job, one of their functions, is to clean us and to show us like, hey, why does this keep happening to you? You need to bring awareness to this. That way you don't do that. So you can reverse it, undo it, and then know better the next time around. Your angels will always, always, always pull you out of a situation that you're either not ready to handle or that is simply not synchronizing and harmonizing with your divine blueprint. Another example of a notification, I can talk for hours, by the way. Another example of a notification, if someone asks you out, a friend says, let's go to a movie, and you're not feeling it, that's a notification. Your angels are announcing to you that it's not really boding. You're not really feeling it. They would also say, well, if you want to go, well, get ready for this and this, that, and how are you going to handle it? But most of the time, I found that the communication is really fast. It travels at light speed. So I can just tune in. Oop, nope, I'm not feeling it. So think of your light body, which is your smart body, as being the bridge to all these other dimensions. And your light body is always telling you things. And it's kind of like the pipeline to the spirit realm. And when you meditate and you activate your light body, you can then spiral upward to all these different layers of frequency. ETs have a different frequency than angels. And then you can go even more subtle. Within ETs, what's going on? There's all these different layers within ETs, all these different layers within angels, and they're all different frequency bandwidths. My experience with the angels is their job is to teach us how to remain pure. That's why I love living as a dot. And it's something that I coined about a year and a half ago. If you haven't seen my webinar, I highly recommend it. But I live my life as a dot. It's so pure. I don't plan things ahead of time. I only do it if I'm like excited about it. I really just speak my truth in the moment. I speak my truth in the moment. And it took a lot of work to get here. I had to design a life that would be conducive to this way of living. But I would never go back now. It's such a pure existence. And people ask me, do you still book people in advance? And I don't. I did readings for years, running around LA, driving around LA, being on the phone all day long. And now it's like I just open them when I feel called to. It's a moment-to-moment existence. And it's a quantum teaching, so I can't really teach it right now. But that's why I live my life as a dot. I don't like to feel obligated. I don't like to feel like there's all these demands and all these things put on me. Because it invites that dark mist. It doesn't have to. You can make tons of plans and be super immune to all these dark forces or all these dark clouds. But I have found that this is such a liberating way of living. I feel so liberated. I don't have to report to people. I don't owe anyone anything. No one owes me anything. It's so pure. A lot of times I feel like I'm like this being in a body and I'm like a hologram. It's like I'm close to you, but it's almost like I'm removed, but I'm here. I'm very present. I'm so present. But sometimes I walk around and I feel like I'm just this hologram. because I only align to things that really resonate with my soul. And the thing about, this is what they're saying now, when you live purely, you become more and more and more psychic. More and more and more psychic. You start to see everything. Because now your third eye is showing you other people's attachments, entity attachments, that dark mist, those are attachments. You can see all of that. The bondage that people create with others. Do this for me, do this for me. Yeah. And the angels are wanting us to become mature. Like, do for yourself. Don't ask people for things. And if you do, pay them. Everything has to be in equal measure. If you live like that, if you're constantly balancing everything, your checkbooks, if you're constantly balancing everything, you're always going to receive more. Because you're like this walking portal of light that is constantly ushering in angelic frequencies. So know this, if you're in a really precarious situation right now, and you've been feeling anxious, you've been feeling stressed, you've been feeling confused, you've been feeling discombobulated, those are your angels. They're not necessarily and categorically telling you leave, but they're saying there's something you need to tend to. And you're going to keep feeling this way because we love you and we need you to purify your space. So don't just turn a blind eye to things. Don't disregard all these different alerts coming through your light body from the angelic team, from your guides. They want the best for you. They want what you want. But sometimes we don't always know what we want because we're so blinded by that dark mist. That's the other thing. They're always showing me the dark mist blinds people. It blinds people. They make a poor choice and then they start spiraling down. And another poor choice, and another poor choice, and another poor choice. Think of all the times you went out and you drank one too many, and then you go for pizza, and then you go smoke a cigarette, then you have sex. Like, that's the idea. It's just an analogy, but that's the idea. There's nothing wrong with that, though. If, most people haven't mastered this, if you're able to be in the observer of what you're doing, and you bring love into the fold of everything that you do, then you're consciously choosing things. Just like you're consciously choosing to be in that abusive relationship because you're done taking abuse and you're going to step it up and show this person this is not acceptable. And through that, they're going to grow with you or they're going to leave. The other metaphor they gave me was like when you have your iPhone or whatever phone you have and your battery's about to die or it's at 10% and it's like, it gives you a warning, like low battery. You're like, I'll just put it off. And then you get to 1% and you're like, oh my God, I have to find a charger right now. That's because your angels won't leave you a choice. They're going to pop you out of that situation because they know that it's not serving you. And you're off path. You're out of alignment. Their job is to teach you how to remain in alignment. They don't always want to cleanse you. They want to teach you how to cleanse yourself. They want to teach you how not to have to cleanse yourself. So if you have an inkling, oh, I don't want to go to this party, I don't want to go to this dinner, that's your angels. Angel notification. I love that. I love the title, Angel Notifications. If, this is another one. If you know something about someone, and your intuition is telling you don't share this with them because they're going to get very defensive, and you say it anyways, you're disobeying your angels. And you're going to contaminate yourself because guess what's going to happen? They're going to get super defensive. They're now going to say, how dare you do da 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 da, and it's going to create a rift between you guys, and you just dirtied yourself up. So you may want to put that intel that you have in your back pocket and save it in your drafts for a later date. Save it in the draft folder. and let people come to you. That's the thing about a life of purity. You're not constantly adding to your karma by stepping out of your body, by vacating your body and telling everyone what you think. You're just a dot. You're moving from moment to moment. If people want something, you serve them, or you may choose not to serve them in that moment. You're going to tune in and decide. You create your own angelic universe. And if someone wants to be a part of it, they're welcome if they can come with equal measure. If they're constantly trying to take from you, guess what's going to happen? That means that they already have that dark mist around you and they're going to infect you. And then you're going to have to spiritually sanitize yourself. Happens all the time. You're like, oh, I have a weakness for this person. And 3 months later, you're completely depleted of energy. That's because that was a vampiric situation. You didn't have a firm boundary. The reason you didn't have the boundary is because your third eye was closed, because you allowed that dark mist to influence you through that person. Those entities, which is the mist, they can convince you of lies through another vessel, through a host. And then they're going to infect you. And then when you complain about the situation you're now in, you're going to infect other people. It's like a domino effect. It's a domino effect. I can think of a million notifications that you get throughout your day. You're in your car. I really think you should turn left. Your angel's like, I really think you should turn left because there's an accident ahead and you might be in the car for an hour. And we're like, I'm just going to negate that voice. It takes practice. What I would recommend you to do is listen to those voices that feel pure. Now, once in a while, you might have a wolf in grandmother's clothing, like in that movie, in what's it called? Red Riding Hood. You might have a wolf in sheep's clothing. And there can be thoughts that are very pretty that can convince you to do something, and it ends up being that they're the dark mist. That's going into more of the subtle realms. You can get into that when you really start to master it, but tune into how it feels. Is it peaceful? If it's peaceful and it's not impulsing you, if it's not rushing you, if it's telling you to slow down, it's probably an angel. Listen to those whispers. They're very subtle sometimes. And then it gets really fun when you raise your frequency and you start hitting the higher layers of angelic realms. And now you can start to distinguish between the demons disguised as angels and then the angels. That's when it gets really fun. An example of like a demon in angel's clothing is when you have a brilliant idea and you do a video, or you have a brilliant idea and you take it on board and you're super excited about this new project. And 2 months later, you're like, what the hell did I just do? I invested tons of money. I let my ego get the best of me. I got super excited. And now look at me, I'm in debt. That's a fake angel. That's just one example. So I'm going to repeat this one more time. If you're not happy in your life right now, if you're discontent in a relationship, at a job, in anything, open up your heart, ask your angels for assistance. If you're feeling stressed, it means you're dirty. It means there's dark mist around you. Your angels are trying to move you back into a space of alignment. But we have to use our mind. We have to start thinking, stewing over things. Take a time out. Find the solution. It's right there. But it's very difficult to find if you're always distracted by your phone, if you're always distracted by the next Netflix show. There's nothing wrong with those things. I love those things. But we have to find balance. Okay, if I'm on my phone 2 hours, I need to meditate an hour every day. If I watch TV an hour, great. Then I turn my TV off. I hope this message helped you guys. And I'm excited because I think this is going to be a big one for you guys. I love you so much. Thank you for subscribing, sharing, donating, commenting, just for your love. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'm sending you infinite blessings, sprinkled with light codes. All right? I'll see you in another version of the Now.